It's okay. I'm not driving. Not driving.
Oh,
We stayed with my parents, and we just checked into a hotel, so I had to find kind of a quiet spot in the hotel to share, and it's a little hard to have the video, but I'm safe in terms of reading.
okay. All right. If you have a problem, let us know.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya
Jaya
Sri
Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Chaitanya. Jaya
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 Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya
Jaya
Jaya Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Thank you all. So, chapter 2, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This chapter explains that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. Therefore, the Brahman effulgence is the bodily luster of Lord Chaitanya, and the localized supersoul situated in the heart of every living entity is his partial representation. The Purusha avatars are also mentioned in this connection. Mahavishnu is the reservoir of all conditioned souls, but as confirmed in the authoritative scriptures, Lord Krishna is the ultimate fountainhead, the source of numerous plenary expansions, including Narayan, who is generally accepted by Mayavadi philosophers to be the absolute truth. The Lord's manifestation of Prabhava and Vaibhava expansions, as well as partial incarnations and incarnations with delegated powers, are also explained. Lord Krishna's ages of boyhood and youth are discussed, and it is explained that his age at the beginning of youth is his eternal form. The spiritual sky contains innumerable spiritual planets, the Vaikunthas, which are manifestations of the Supreme Lord's internal energy. Innumerable material universes are similarly exhibited by his external energy, and the living entities are manifested by his marginal energy. Because Lord Krishna Chaitanya is not different from Lord Krishna, he is the cause of all causes. There is no cause beyond him. He is eternal, and his form is spiritual. Lord Chaitanya is directly the Supreme Lord Krishna, as the evidence of the authoritative scriptures proves. This chapter stresses that a devotee who wishes to advance in Krishna consciousness must have knowledge of Krishna's personal form, his three principal energies, his pastimes, and the relationship of the living entities with him. So text number 1. Shri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Balopiyad Anugrahat Tarinana Matagraha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram. Translation. I offer my obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusions about the ultimate truth, which is full of the crocodiles of various theories. Purport. By His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. By the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even an inexperienced boy with no educational culture can be saved from the ocean of nescience, which is full of various types of philosophical doctrines that are like dangerous aquatic animals. The philosophy of the Buddha, the argumentative presentations of the Gyanis, the yoga systems of Patanjali and Gautama, and the systems of philosophers like Kanada, Kapila, and Dattatreya are dangerous creatures in the ocean of nescience. By the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can have real understanding of the essence of knowledge by avoiding the sectarian views and accepting the lotus feet of Krishna as the ultimate goal of life. Let us all worship Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his gracious mercy to the conditioned souls. Text number 2. Krishnot kirtana gana nartana kala pato jani prajita sad bhakta vali hamsa chakra madhupa shreni viharaspadam karnanandi kala dhvanir vahatu me jiva maru prangane Shri Chaitanya Daya Nidhe Tava Lasa Lila Sudha Svarduni. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O my merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the nectarian Ganges waters of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are the pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swans, ducks, and bees. The river's flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears. Purport. Our tongues always engage in vibrating useless sounds that do not help us realize transcendental peace. The tongue is compared to a desert because a desert needs a constant supply of refreshing water to make it fertile and fruitful. Water is the substance most needed in the desert. The transient pleasure derived from mundane topics of art, culture, politics, sociology, dry philosophy, poetry, and so on is compared to a mere drop of water because although such topics have a qualitative feature of transcendental pleasure, they are saturated with the modes of material nature. Therefore, neither collectively nor individually can they satisfy the vast requirements of the desert-like tongue. Despite crying in various conferences, therefore, the desert-like tongue continues to be parched. For this reason, people from all parts of the world must call for the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are compared to swans swimming around the beautiful lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or bees humming around his lotus feet in transcendental pleasure, searching for honey. The dryness of material happiness cannot be moistened by so-called philosophers who cry for Brahman, liberation, and similar dry speculative objects. The urge of the soul proper is different. The soul can be solaced only by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his many bona fide devotees, who never leave the lotus feet of the Lord to become imitation Mahaprabhus, but all cling to his lotus feet like bees that never leave a honey-soaked lotus flower. Lord Chaitanya's movement of Krishna consciousness is full of dancing and singing about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. It is compared herein to the pure waters of the Ganges, which are full of lotus flowers. The enjoyers of these lotus flowers are the pure devotees, who are like bees and swans. They chant like the flowing of the Ganges, the river of the celestial kingdom. The author desires such sweetly flowing waves to cover his tongue. He humbly compares himself to materialistic persons who always engage in dry talk, from which they derive no satisfaction. If they were to use their dry tongues to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as exemplified by Lord Chaitanya, they would taste sweet nectar and enjoy life. Om Agyanatimirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminite Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So before we begin, I want to offer my humble obeisances to everyone present here and humbly seek everyone's blessings, well wishes, that we can have a meaningful, fruitful spiritual discussion that may be pleasing to our spiritual master, may be pleasing to Srila Prabhupada and to all of the devotees here, that it can give us some inspiration and meditation, some fuel for our spiritual life. Hare Krishna. So yes, so these two verses are sharing about how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the reservoir. He is the prayojana. He is the goal of the souls in this world, of any soul, in the sense that we have sambandha, abhideya, prayojana. Sambandha is the relationship we have with the Supreme Lord. Abhideya is the process by which we attain the ultimate goal, and the ultimate goal is, as our acharyas explain, as Srila Prabhupada explains, is Krishna prema, or also put more broadly, is devotional service. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is allowing, by his mercy, for us to cross over so many pitfalls in spiritual life. There are so many different philosophies out there. There are so many conclusions. And even this act of armchair speculation, as Prabhupada would use this term frequently, or dry speculation, seeking the path of Gyan, it's not a practical process, particularly in this age of Kali Yuga, when we're living in an age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And there are so many faulty arguments, so many philosophies and ideas and spiritual speculations that are really rooted in speculation, are rooted in materialistic conclusions. We have so many examples of religious movements that are basically the speculation of a particular personality. And then the followers are seriously misled by, having a teacher who is not properly qualified or who's acting out of speculation. Of course, there are many bona fide spiritual traditions in this world, but even those may fall prey to misinterpretation, may fall prey to being somehow watered down, where the essence is lost. As Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, that this knowledge was passed down, it was given before, but over time it became lost. So he returned again, appearing to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to share the knowledge in a pure way. And of course, this is the function of Guru Parampara as well, that the teachings, ideally, we pray, are always passed down very faithfully. The essence is fully preserved, intact, shared sincerely, purely, genuinely, without any kind of outside motivation. And the expert preacher, they may adapt the way in which the essence is shared according to Kala, Desha, Patra, time, place, and circumstance. But actually, that core message, that core essence will never, ever be changed according to the bona fide Guru Parampara system. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's by his mercy. See, this is an important point. It's by the mercy of the Lord and the mercy of the spiritual master that we can cross over this ocean. It's not an ascending process. It's a descending process. It's mercy that descends. It's not by our own gyan, by our own understanding, or by our own intelligence, or by our own beauty, by our own power, by our own wealth, any of these things, that we can attain love of God, we can attain genuine spiritual realization. It comes when the mercy comes down. So gyan, the process of jnana yoga, is an ascending process. It's basically we have to accrue so much knowledge, such deep philosophical understanding that somehow, eventually by the sweat of our own brow, we come to this platform of realization. And even then, it's partial realization. The jnanis and yogis generally, the jnanis can realize Brahman, the yogis realize Paramatma, and only the bhakta, the sincere devotee of the Lord, can attain realization and service of Bhagavan, of the Supreme Lord himself. So we're awash in this ocean of conclusions that may or may not be true. So this is why also in this age of Kali, the ultimate process is Harinam, is Sankirtan Yagya, is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Because as it says here, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusions. So chanting the holy name of the Lord does not depend upon material intelligence, does not depend upon any kind of qualification. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, in his early lila, in his early pastimes, he played the role of a great scholar. He was celebrated in Bengal as Nimai Pandit. And as a young boy, he was an expert logician and could defeat anyone in logical argument and also in translating Sanskrit. So many different arts of knowledge he practiced and was the foremost. But actually in his Leela, what we see is that he moves away from that after receiving the instruction from his spiritual master to simply chant the holy name of the Lord. And he goes to his spiritual master and he says, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, I find that I become ecstatic and I lose all sense of order in my life, right? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of his humility, he would sometimes meet with the Mayavadi sannyasis who would try to debate with him. And although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never lost his capacity to debate in this extremely expert way to defeat anyone, his focus and his lila is based around chanting the holy names of the Lord in a mood of loving devotion. In his case, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, the loving devotion for Krishna. So he would tell these Mayavadi sannyasis, actually, my spiritual master told me that I can't understand the philosophy and I should just simply chant the holy names of the Lord. This is what's good for me. And he would tell them that in a very humble spirit, although he has the capacity to debate and defeat and so on. But by his own example, he's showing how we don't want to be lost in this ocean of philosophical arguments, which may lead nowhere. They may lead nowhere, or they may lead at best to partial realization of the Supreme Lord. So he's showing us the easiest and best way for this age by which we can attain love of God and realization of the Supreme and our relationship to him. So it's very rare in this material world that we come upon something that is both the easiest and the best, right? Generally speaking, if we hear that something's easy, we're thinking, oh, it's cutting corners. Somehow it must be lacking in some way. I want it to go the hard way because I'll have a more complete success if I go the hard way, right? That's generally how it is on the material platform. But on the spiritual platform, there's something very sublime going on by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of the holy name. We get to experience the simplicity and the great potency of the holy names. And simply by chanting the holy names, one can attain the supreme goal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his own words, in Sri Sikshastakam, he says, holy name is giving us the nectar for which we are always anxious, right? So as in this text too, the desert-like tongue, right? The desert-like tongue is anxious for something that will genuinely quench it. And what is giving us the nectar for which we are always anxious? What is extinguishing the fire of material existence, of repeated birth and death? It is this Harinam. It is this holy name. So all we're called upon to do, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself instructs, is to chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind. Shinadapi sunichena taror api sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. That one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, to be as tolerant as a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respects to others. And in such a humble state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly, which of course is the goal, because at the deepest level, if we attain that namruchi, that taste for the holy name, and actually are chanting in a pure way, it will just we will never become tired of it. And speaking for myself, honestly speaking, as a practitioner, when we're still in the stage of developing our Vaidhi Bhakti, our sadhana, our practice of chanting, there may be times where we feel distracted. There may be times where we feel not even so much in the mood to chant. That's just a product of our own conditioning. It in no way reflects upon the potency, the beauty, the completeness of the holy name. The holy name is fully self-effulgent, and Krishna is perfectly present. Sarva Shakti, right? All of his Shaktis, all of his energy is present in his holy names. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself humbly gives the example, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them, right? So we may not have attraction for the holy names. Yet, one who does truly become attracted to the holy names, they will never tire of chanting the holy name. They'll want to go on and on because it's filling that hole that we all have in our heart, seeking that connection to the Supreme in a way that feels natural, in a way that feels free, in a way that feels full of beauty. This is all there within the holy name. So it says here, beautifying these waters, like the nectarian Ganges waters of the transcendental activities of Mahaprabhu. So reciting and hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord is also a form of kirtan. So chanting of Krishna's holy name, this is the pleasure abode of unalloyed devotees. Devotees will not look for pleasure elsewhere. For now, in our gradual practice of Krishna consciousness, we may still have this idea that we can find pleasure elsewhere in this world because we, by nature, we're situated as Krishna's Tatashta Shakti. Krishna has three primary energies: Antaranga Shakti, which is his internal potency; Bahiranga Shakti, which is his external potency, which is, seen very much in this material manifestation. Antaranga Shakti, internal potency, is purely spiritual. And all of the spiritual abode, spiritual creation is there, situated within the Antaranga Shakti. The Lord's own nature is summed up in the Antaranga Shakti. And we are situated uniquely as Tatashta Shakti. That means we're situated on the margin or on the shoreline between these two internal and external potencies. So it's very natural for us to be attracted to the spiritual nature because we are by nature spiritual. We are spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna. Yet at the same time, because we're situated as the Tatashta Shakti, we're also very, very familiar with the external energy. We're very familiar with the material energy, and we can become quite attracted and attached to it. So what is recommended in this connection? What's recommended is to patiently, with enthusiasm, to cultivate our relationship to the angas, the limbs of bhakti, the limbs of practice, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, right? Hearing and chanting about the Lord, remembering the Lord, so that as time goes on, the more we can hear, the more we can chant, that Smaranam will naturally increase. We'll be remembering the Lord more and more often. You can imagine it as a light which is blinking, right? So sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. But if you can imagine that light blinking more and more quickly, so there's less and less space in between each time the light goes on and off, eventually it will be like it's on all the time. So this is what we're aspiring for. We're aspiring for steady remembrance of the Supreme Lord through the practice of Shravanam, Kirtanam, and other activities of Krishna consciousness, other activities of bhakti. So we're actually encouraged to be patient, to endeavor with confidence and with enthusiasm. Srila Rupa Goswami is sharing this in the Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita. And in a different passage in the same book, I believe it's text number 7, he writes, Syat Krishna Nama Charita Disitapya Vidya Pito Pataptara Sanasya Narotsikanu Kintva Darad Anudinam Kalu Saiva Justa Swadvikramad Bhavati Tadkaramula Hantri. So he recommends, he says, one should chant the name, the holy name of the Lord. It is, well, he says, the holy name of the Lord is transcendently sweet, just like sugar candy. Although one afflicted with the jaundice of ignorance cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names each day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. So in other words, the more we can chant the holy name, the more we will become attracted. It seems almost contradictory, right? That if we're not feeling attracted, we go on chanting. How is that going to help? But actually, the only solution, the only thing that will bring more attraction is more chanting. In the same way, different stages of chanting the holy name, there is the offensive stage, there's nam aparad. But this does not mean, oh, because I'm making nam aparad, I should stop chanting. This is something that the ego can tell us, right? To get us to stop our spiritual practice. But actually, if we have faith, some faith in the potency of the holy name, we'll understand that the potency of the holy name is such that even if I'm chanting offensively, if I just go on chanting, those offenses will clear. So according to this analogy given by Srila Rupa Goswami, the sugar candy is the medicine for jaundice, but jaundice gives a bitter taste in the mouth. So if we're at first taking that sugar candy, it won't be very palatable. It won't be very attractive to us. But if someone right there says, okay, so I'm not going to take it anymore, their disease will just get worse. But if they power through that period, and and in the case of chanting the holy name, right, directly, if we just continue chanting, then that disease, that lack of attraction to the holy name will be destroyed eventually, gradually, with time, with mercy. Not by our own goodness or anything like that. It's by mercy. So we seek that mercy through chanting. And then in this way, if we surround ourselves with devotees who actually do find pleasure in chanting the holy name, in practicing the activities of Krishna consciousness, then in this way, we can make progress by their mercy, by their example, by the inspiration that we receive from seeing the way that they are relishing, right? Sometime a devotee shared with me once, I found it very helpful. If you don't want to chant the holy name, you should want to chant the holy name, right? So even if we don't want to chant the holy name, we can say, I want to want that. I want to get to the point where I want to chant. And then how merciful is this, that even if you can't feel that way, you can want to want, right? You can say, someday I really hope that I can want to chant the holy name, right? So Krishna is so merciful, particularly in this Kali Yuga. He comes as the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masuchaha. Surrender unto me. He requests our surrender. Surrender unto me. Abandon all varieties of religion and simply surrender unto me. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is Krishna's mercy. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 66, he speaks this. And this is, without a doubt, very, very merciful if we simply surrender to Krishna. But then one may say, that's wonderful that Krishna is offering that, but I don't feel that I can surrender. I'm struggling to surrender. I have so many attachments. I don't know even what it feels like to surrender. I'm trying, but I'm not there yet, right? Many devotees will share this in just their honest reflection. But at the same time, how merciful is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He's our beacon of hope. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Although he's Krishna himself, he appears in this mood of daya, this mood of great compassion and mercy. So he does not even request our surrender. Krishna requests our surrender. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was going to fallen souls anywhere and everywhere, like Jagai and Madai. So many examples where he was personally appearing to them and begging them to chant the holy name. He wasn't looking at their qualification, their level of surrender, their level of realization, their birth, their cleanliness, anything. He was approaching anyone far and wide and requesting them, please, please, I beg you, please chant these holy names. And there are examples of when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would embrace someone, physically embrace them with his spiritual body, and their love for God was awakened by that embrace. So if we're ever feeling uninspired, if we're ever feeling like, we have a very long way to go in terms of our attraction to bhakti, our attraction to the Krishna's holy names, we can remember Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is actually imploring us all to chant the holy names and is there for each and every one of us. He's there. He can help us to cross over the ocean of false philosophical conclusions. He can help us to cross over the illusion of our material conditioning, because he has appeared in this Kali Yuga as the most merciful incarnation, Namo Mahavadanyaya, the most munificent, who is giving something that has never been given before by any other incarnation, which is pure, unalloyed love of God in the mood of Madhurya, in the mood of intimate, loving devotion, as exemplified by the gopis and Srimati Radharani. So he's giving this, and he's giving it in the most compassionate, open way. So Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, it's often said that they opened the storehouse of love and are distributing that nectar freely. So there's nothing being guarded in terms of this love that is being given. What's required of us is the mercy of the devotees and some sincere attempt to chant, to associate with devotees, to stay connected. Sometimes in spiritual life, it can feel like we're swimming upstream. Have you seen the example of this, right? With salmon, they swim upstream in the water. They're very unique in that way. Most fish, they swim with the current of the water, the river. But salmon, they're swimming upstream, and it's very difficult, very laborious for them at times. So sometimes spiritual life can feel that way when we're surrounded by so much materialism, when we're surrounded by so much falsehood and so much hypocrisy and so much material attraction, right? There's so much around us in this world that we're also constantly being sent this message that, yes, this is what is normal. This is what you should be doing. This is what everybody's doing, right? Of course, for young children especially, this is very hard. For young children and teenagers, there's just so much messaging saying, yes, you should do this, you should do that, you should enjoy in this way, you should enjoy in that way, because this is the flow of the world. This is what all of society is doing. But as aspiring devotees, we have to try to swim upstream. We have to swim against that current. And with time, we see that this is for our highest good. This is for our highest good. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us extra mercy so that we can make that journey by his mercy. That may feel like we're swimming upstream, but actually we're getting caught in the merciful flow of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, of his Harinam Sankirtan movement. And so in this way, our lives are being changed, even if it's gradual. Never underestimate the power of what is being given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's giving everything. And through his agents like Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual masters and all great devotees, we get to take more and more opportunity to be exposed to the joy of chanting the holy names, the joy of interacting with, worshiping with the deities. We get the joy of associating with devotees, reading sacred texts. Srila Prabhupada's translated so many books for us. And speaking for myself, it's, there's so much to read. There's so much. And if we can just get a little bit of attraction to that, so much will come from that. So Yes, so to conclude, we can say that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is the Kali Yuga avatar. He's appeared in this Kali Yuga to give us a special process, right? This Kali Yuga Dharma. It's all tailored around the difficulties. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understands the difficulties of this age. And so he's giving us ways to approach him, to approach the Supreme Lord very easily, in a very simple way, and in a very powerful way that doesn't depend on any other qualification, and it will uplift us from any of the kind of twists and turns of philosophical conclusions. We can get so wrapped up. So in this age, we're really encouraged not to take shelter of our own philosophical exploration. Of course, if devotees are inquisitive, that's wonderful. There are many ways that inquisitive devotees can be very satisfied by reading these sacred texts and by having spiritual conversations. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says devotees always enlighten each other by sharing about him. They experience great happiness and bliss by doing so. So definitely we can do that, but we don't want to try to light our own way in spiritual life. We need to seek the light that's already there, the light that's already actually lighting up this entire material world. But for us, our journey is in showing up and exposing ourselves to that light. At Srila Prabhupada, the masthead of the slogan of Back to Godhead magazine is this shloka, that in the presence of light, there can be no darkness. So if we can just let as much light into our lives by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's already there. He's begging us to let it into our life. But the more we can do that in a practical way, all of the darkness, all of the confusion, all of the bewilderment of this material world will start to go away, and things will be properly put in their place. Things will start to make sense more and more. So by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, we pray to welcome that light into our lives. And this is devotional life. Then maybe we feel attracted to do some practical service. We feel attracted to engage according to our gifts, according to our capacity, and make an offering of that to Krishna. This is where devotional service begins, which is both the means and the end as far as our spiritual life concerns. It's the method by which we attain the goal, and also our goal is to serve eternally. Our goal is to continue to serve. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshastakam, he shares that. He says, Lord, even if you handle me roughly by your embrace, or make me brokenhearted by not being present before me, I will always consider you to be my worshipful Lord, birth after birth. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to continue serving and serving no matter what may come. So the more we can develop attraction to devotional service, we see that this is both the method by which we're reaching the goal spiritually, and it is also the goal. What more is our goal than to serve purely, genuinely? And the great devotees emphasize this again and again. So we'll stop here. Thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Gaura Bhakta-vrinda ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, nice class. We explains very well.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much. If anyone has any reflections, questions, thoughts, anything to share, it's most welcome.
Here, he's in the first verse, his comparison with the crocodile. That means all Mayavadi and Yogi and those people. There, he's comparing the analogies with them.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Crocodile. This is, we all, what was that? I don't have mine in front of my book.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Mataji. No, that's correct, right? That this crocodiles can take the forms of, incorrect philosophical conclusions or different kinds of spiritual approaches that are tinged with materialism, that are mixed with material desires, material goals. And when you shared like that, Mataji, thank you for bringing that point out, because it also makes us think, of course, when we hear crocodile, we often think of the Leela of Gajendra Moksha, that Gajendra, the elephant, he finds himself in the river, and his leg is bitten by a crocodile, and that crocodile is pulling him deeper and deeper. And only in that moment, he takes a lotus flower with his trunk and he offers it up to the Supreme Lord. And in that moment, he is liberated and saved by Lord Vishnu himself. So this is something that can be a lesson for all of us. And another example that's quite similar, if we really think about it, is the pastime of Draupadi Devi, because she's being very shamefully disrobed and harassed in the assembly. And it's only when she reaches her hands up to the sky, then Krishna provides mystically unlimited cloth for her sari, so that she can never be humiliated, can never be hurt by the cruelty that is being placed toward her. So in this way, we can say that it's really we depend upon the mercy of the Lord. So like Gajendra, like Draupadi, we want to try to imbibe that consciousness more and more. We want to imbibe that consciousness more and more, that we can actually depend upon the mercy of the Lord, and not to think that it's by our own strength at any point. So if Gajendra just went ahead and said, "Oh, I'm a big elephant. I'm a great elephant. I can defeat this crocodile," then the outcome may have been different. And same for Draupadi. If she said, "I'm a great queen. I'm a very influential person. I will make this stop," right? It's when we turn to the Lord that so much mercy flows. So that is what we're encouraged to do by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to call upon the mercy of the Lord in his holy names, and to receive that mercy in the descending process, not to try to ascend according to our own limited strength or realization.
Right. And here he mentioned also about ignorant child. So ignorant child without doing any sadhana can also, by mercy of Prabhuji, Mahaprabhu, can swim. That's what he's mentioning, without doing sadhana, ignorant child.
Yes, that by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even an ignorant
Ignorant
child
child can swim across the ocean.
can swim across the ocean. Yes, and it's so it goes to show that, again, it's not really depending upon our knowledge. Our knowledge is not what's going to get us there. Of course, spiritual knowledge, divya gyan, this is very important, but this is something that will help us to reach the supreme goal, spiritual knowledge. But our book learning, our, whether we have this degree or that degree, Prabhupada emphasizes many times that this is not necessarily what we need to make spiritual progress. So even an ignorant child, if he has deep faith and he has received the mercy of the Lord, then there will be no obstacle, no problem in terms of his spiritual progress. And there's another story about how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came upon a devotee who was reading Bhagavad Gita. He was reading that Bhagavad Gita upside down, holding it the wrong way. Yes, you know this story, Mataji. So that's another example. Right. That's another illustration of how knowledge is not what is the most important thing. The devotion is what is most important. So if the spiritual knowledge can help us to cultivate our devotion more deeply, then that is perfect. Then we should seek out more and more of that spiritual knowledge, because it's related to our devotion. It's related to the development of our devotion. But if there's knowledge that is bringing us here, there, and everywhere, and not necessarily fueling our devotion, then we will remain feeling dry, like was said in that verse, like a desert.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And in second verse, devotees are compared with the swan, ducks, and bees. Can you emphasize that a little bit?
Sure, Mataji. Sure. Thank you for the nice question. So the swan is very celebrated, right? When we hear that term Paramahamsa, Hamsa is a swan. So yeah. So one teaching that's given about swans, I've never witnessed this myself. I would love to see it because it sounds quite amazing, that swans have the ability to separate milk from water. So for example, if you have a pool, and in that water you pour both milk and water, if you fill the pool with like half milk, half water, what the teaching is in the spiritual teaching is that swan somehow has a skill that the swan can put its head into the liquid of the pool and extract the milk from the water. So that's another example why the swan is compared to a great devotee in this way, because great devotees have the ability to always seek the nectar, always seek what is most nourishing, and to separate that out from things that are less relevant to our spiritual life. The devotee knows how to look for the nectar. Same with the honeybee. The honeybee can go here, there, and everywhere. Wherever it goes, it's looking for nectar. It will find that nectar. And sometimes, actually, just to mention, sometimes when we have interfaith interactions with people of other faiths, it's a very nice example to bring up that a honeybee, wherever it goes, even if it's, in a different realm, a different region, it will find the nectar, will find what is sweet. So similarly, devotees, wherever they hear spiritual knowledge, they will be able to find the nectar. They will be able to find, especially reading the spiritual text, they'll be anxious for that nectar. They'll be able to find it wherever they may go. They look for what is spiritual and what links them to Krishna. And the ducks, I don't actually know. Maybe one of the devotees would like to share about the analogy of the ducks, but that one I don't know so much. But in this text, I will say, looking at this verse, it's clear that the devotees are swimming in this Ganga, the Ganga water. So that makes sense that the ducks would always be immersed, swimming in the sacred water.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So you always do if it is not devotee, you don't get involved with them. Stay away and get touch with the devotee who is more same interest. So that way you can progress in your life.
Yes, Mataji, thank you for sharing that. Yes, so what we're instructed is, I'm trying to remember where this teaching appears, but it's one of the Goswamis of Vrindavan. Maybe a devotee can mention or post in the chat. We're instructed to associate with devotees who are ideally swajatiya and snigdha, which means swajatiya means like-minded, like you're kind of coming from the same mood in your spiritual life, and also devotees who are snigdha, where there's affection, there's love there in that relationship. So that is considered the kind of ideal association for us. And of course, any association with devotees is completely auspicious. But most devotees find that they benefit a lot from having at least a couple of relationships with devotees who they feel a very like-minded connection to. So that's something that's very valuable and helpful in our spiritual lives. And as far as associating with those who are not necessarily on a path of devotion, we're also told by some teachers, I've heard it said several times, that it's not necessarily that we have to completely avoid their association, but that we try to be giving association, right? We can take association and we can give association. So if we're associating with those who may not be so spiritually inclined, we can try to the best of our ability to be inspiring association for them. We can try to offer and try to get the mood into a higher place and speak about something a little bit deeper, something a little more spiritually connected, according to where that person is also. But that's what we try to bear in mind when we're associating with those who may not necessarily be coming from a devotional kind of frame of mind. We want to try to offer good association to them. That's something we can also strive to do.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Niru Mataji. Thank you. Anyone else have any reflections, anything to share? Okay, thank you all so much. If that's all for this evening, then we will conclude. Thank you all so much for your association, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak and share something tonight. And yeah, inspired by all of you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki
Thank you.
jai.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya
Jai
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo Namaha.
Namo Namo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.